Hoorah! Oh yeah! Another video. Gotta think of something to talk about. But what to talk about? Oh, I know. Let's talk about comfort, discomfort, and how to balance your choices between picking the obvious one and the less obvious one. Very poor and not predictable, but very sloppy segue. No creative points there, but I'm moving around, as you can see. The world is spinning. So, what a weird question, maybe topic. Comfort or discomfort? Everybody wants comfort. Everyone tries to avoid discomfort. Yo, bugs are just the worst thing ever, man. I can't go for a fucking bike ride without one of them getting in my eye. Now I'm gonna have to keep trying to flush it out with my tears. It's okay, I got a lot. Over the years, I've accumulated a deluge of tears. All right. Foolishness aside. So what's going on, right? With, how can I think or put it this way? We, I'm gonna set it up very broad, as a society, work collectively, put some of our smartest, hungriest brains to make all of our lives easier, almost on a perverted level. Universities, schools in general, people from the third world are flocking here to the first one in North America, let's put it that way, to work on apps that make payments easier. It's fucking hard to carry cash around all of a sudden. I don't use cash anymore, so you can call me a hypocrite. But if this shit wasn't invented, like paying with cards and whatever, I wouldn't have given a fuck. But it isn't about me. It isn't about you either. But when you, me, all of us come together and we start funding shit like that, you, me, and all of us, we make it that much shittier for our kids to find something worthwhile to do in this life. So here's what's going on. You have to learn to live with some level of discomfort, and to an extent we all do. Nobody's born, even the rich kids, millionaires themselves, billionaires, they all have some kind of strife in their lives. Something that keeps them going, something that keeps them up at night and out of bed in the morning. Nobody buys those books. Nobody wants to imitate that lifestyle. Everybody wants to imitate the lifestyle of vacationing in Bahamas, popping champagne, and having mansions. That's what everybody aspires to. They aspire to that as well. But he talks about Jeff Bezos working like a maniac, making phone calls late in the night, getting the business off the ground. That ain't glamorous. Of course, he would have liked it if there was a bit more convenience in his life, and if he could get Amazon off the ground faster, but I can bet you that he enjoyed some of that hustle. You can see I'm huffing and puffing a bit, sweating, was working out. Could have easily not gone. Could have easily stayed home, could have easily made some curly seasoned fries, battered fish, kicked it, played some Hearthstone, gone to sleep, gotten up and started the job I don't like in the morning, hoping in 5 days I get to do the same shit again. Then in 2 days the job I don't like is gonna start again. Catching my drift? But you won't catch my drift, actually. if you don't embrace instilling some level of obstacle, like some sort of obstacles in your life that you must overcome. And you can say like, well, yeah, I want to worry that much less about making payments. I would rather focus on work, but you're bullshitting. If that was the case, everybody would be out here with successful businesses and actors and all these other things simply because they get to pay, they get to use Cash App, and because everybody's Uber Eating and all that stuff. That's not how this shit works. These businesses aren't stupid. Their business plan isn't like, we're gonna make Uber Eats so that people don't have to worry about cooking, so they're gonna put more working hours at home. Who the fuck are you kidding? Every hour that you're gonna gain from convenience and comfort, you're gonna put right back into convenience and comfort. Like dissolves like. I learned that in one of my science classes in university, even though I was an English major, thinking, why the fuck do I need to really take science? But then I was smart enough, well, no, that sounds bad. I was stupid enough to be curious enough to say, yes, I want to learn more about more than just one subject. And I'm grateful for it. If I got it wrong, please don't crush my dreams or delusions of grandeur. But that's not how this shit works. We've outsourced the convenience of Netflix. To an extent, it was inevitable because of how that industry works. But don't you hear a lot of people complaining that, oh, you know, Blockbuster was so cool, it was such a nice ritual to go out there. I mean, I sure say that. Like, it was so much fun to go there as a kid and have this like limit where like, okay, I'm gonna only have one movie for Friday, or one game, and this one looks good, this cover looks like it's gonna be fun, oh, this one has Sylvester Stallone, so it gotta be good, or maybe, oh, this one's maybe there's no copies left, so we're gonna have to stick with the knockoff. I don't know what a Stallone knockoff would be at this point. Fuck. Anyway, or like you pick Mortal Kombat, obviously, for the night, get some clodhoppers, go home. It was cool. There was something about it. You had to go there, you had to do it, you had to commit to it. Now you have tons of movies on Netflix. But what do people say about Netflix? There's not that much to watch. Sure, yeah, maybe a lot of their content isn't there. But here's what I'm trying to get at with this. There's gotta be at least a couple of movies there that you don't know. But see, you can't be bothered now because Netflix is just so damn convenient. You don't have to go out there. You don't have to put a physical device disc in the player. You don't have to pay extra for a single movie. You don't have to organize nothing. All you have to do is press play, maybe like left, right, and press play. But because you press play once and you're like, now you're saying, there's nothing to watch on Netflix. That's too much convenience. That's the irony. That's the paradox of convenience. And you know, this is peanuts. This is small time gains. But what I was getting at is we have people at Netflix, at school, studying, thinking of ways, thinking of very, very sophisticated algorithms, thinking of very sophisticated technologies, thinking of deploying very sophisticated resources so that we can further improve the convenience of delivering a product that they think is going to be in demand for the foreseeable, I don't know, 10, 20 years maybe. I don't know if anybody thinks that far ahead, but probably 10 years. But the irony is that, yes, people will use it, but we're doing them we're doing ourselves a disservice. So you're going to tell me what, okay, no, let's bring back Blockbuster. No, that's not the way to go either. But ask yourself, how many choices are you making in your life that revolve around something that indulges you, something that gives you pleasure, something that makes you defer responsibility or work, or simply discomfort? I think that if you end up answering consecutively, you should reevaluate your life. And I sound like some kind of a fucking ascetic priest who like whips himself, self-flagellation just so that like Jesus doesn't get unhappy with me having too much fun on this earth. That's not me, boy. Tell you what, I had so much fucking fun in this life. I keep having fun. And that's where I want to make the sales pitch to you guys. If you learn to live with pushing yourself for some things that you want to get rather than having everything served to you, like spoon-fed to you, you're going to enjoy those things a lot more. You're going to enjoy your physique if you actually work for it rather than doing all these surgeries and, I don't know, protein shakes. You're going to enjoy the movie a bit more if you kind of commit to it maybe, and even if it's not that good in the beginning, you can commit to it later. But you're going to enjoy your life. The 5 days I talked about that you're not liking is if you learn to take the discomfort that comes with achieving something and use it as fuel to propel yourself forward, to propel yourself onto the world and to improve your experience with whatever it is that you're interacting with. Like, none of this by any means implies that, like, look, forget about, stop ordering Uber Eats, cook your own food, make your own movies, go to the gym 3 times a day. No. Don't get me wrong. People have very tough lives out there. People work hard. Some people work multiple jobs, especially when they have families and kids to support. And people usually who work multiple jobs don't make enough to have some free time for themselves. So they do appreciate something like Netflix. So and to them, Netflix really is a boon, right? Because man, they don't have to worry about yet another thing. Or like, what are the kids gonna watch? Just give them Netflix. Let them pick whatever they want. And let me rest my legs for a bit, right? And so in that sense, you can also see where Netflix is coming from, and or some of these industries. I said what they're working towards, who they're catering. I would say if we're gonna keep up with the movie analogies, let's look at the kinds of movies that are being made and the kinds of messages that are being spread by them. A lot of it is being sold with trans acceptance. Anti-homophobia, anti-racism. And while there is nothing wrong with any of that, I think the theory is that the people that actually go to movies are the people who take this kind of bait. You don't have to be a racist, transphobe not to go for these things. When I was going to movies, nobody picked the movie based on which one had more trans acceptance scenes in them, or which one had a gay lead role. We didn't pick movies like that. We picked movies based on what was fun. That's when we paid for movies. But now people like us, I guess they're grown up, and they're the ones working these jobs. They have kids, and a lot of these kids got a little bit of a brain shaking at school. So now all they want to hear about is retribution for some fucking reason. And the people that still go to the movies and still pay for movies, this is like the most important part. That's for whom the message is going out, right? They're not going to convince, here, I'll be stereotypical, some Southerners to go see a remake of James Bond with a black. So James Bond is black, Penny, let's say, is a trans, and then some other shit, right? Like, that's not the appeal. But to a new generation that says like, oh, all of these old things are instruments of oppression, I want to break free from these shackles. Oh, well, they're like, look at this. New James Bond, more sensitive, more to my liking. This is more the James Bond as it was intended to be, but the real author didn't get to write it that way. They didn't get it. They were oppressed. They would have made. I bet you, like, a lot of these authors or movie makers back in the day didn't even think that word trans wasn't in their vernacular at all. But no digression here. To bring it all back, though, basically, is the convenience is out there for the working families, right? So then, or for the working folk, but not just working folk. A lot of people are going to take care of it. They're going to abuse it in a way. And so I'm gonna have to say that think about that, and like with the example I gave you, like, and extrapolate from that. A lot of times when I kind of go off course, I want to plant a seed, or like I want to pose an example, sorry, of something that relates to the theme I want to express, and I really encourage you to build upon what I mentioned there. And so, if I'm going to bring this back and say like Uber Eats, which I call right now a lot of these industries are feudalism 2.0 industries, finally long-winded again way of getting there, saying like, look, we think we're building this very sophisticated, and I remember I use that word a lot to describe these things, and they are very well sophisticated in terms of their deployment, but the society itself is very much feudal. We are catering to masses that are working multiple jobs, who have lost a lot of privileges, benefits. They live in cities and areas where it's harder and to make ends meet, and the cost of living is up. So they need some sort of convenience, so they don't. So these protests that we're seeing all across, let's say, America, aren't even more widespread than they really are. And there is no conspiracy here, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's just what it is. Because the thing with feudalism was that it was pretty efficient to subjugate a group of people, and the small amount divvied up a huge lump sums of money and land between each other, and spared nothing to the what do they call it? Not the plebs, but the word's escaping me. Serfs. So they took more from the serfs, because even if they had to give everybody a little bit more, well, then they would lose a lot more from their own coffers. So we've gotten into a similar pattern without subjugation, but almost what's the right word here to say? Almost like a forfeiting of our status as like citizens, because the distribution of wealth is again becoming more and more asymmetrical. We're seeing huge levels of wealth moving upwards into the smaller companies that have the means of distributing these very sophisticated systems. But they extract this wealth in little chunks, with little subscriptions, with little fees here, with little this, little that, from people, from the masses. And it's not even, we haven't even seen the end of it yet, because a lot of them are still like kind of running on deficits. They're just like battling it out between each other so that they'll get to be the dominant player. Everybody else will end up using. Like, for example, I think Uber is just such a sneaky little ticking time bomb. I think a lot of, once the autonomous cars become widely available, well, I hope that like people will be able to lease their cars to Uber, and they'll pay them obviously much less to use their Teslas or whatever, because otherwise they no one's going to want to pay the rates that they're going to be required to pay for rides in like big metropolises and whatnot. But anyway, how does this all relate to comfort and discomfort? Well, every time you pick a product, you ask yourself, like, honestly, it really begins with yourself, and you're saying, you're sitting at home, or you're on a car ride home, and a car ride to work, and you're bored, you're asking yourself a question like, what can I do? How can I make my life easier? That right there, you are making a serious mistake. Because you're asking the wrong kinds of questions. I think a lot of mistakes come not from wrong answers, but from wrong questions. You're making a mistake because you're saying, what can I do even less of? And considering I don't have too much to my name as it is, how can I manage to have even fucking less? How can I watch yet another movie, yet another TV show? How can I spend less time at work? How can I do less work at home? How can I cook less? How can I have more protein? Every time you ask for convenience from the market, you're paying for it and you don't have enough to pay for all these conveniences, eventually the debt will creep up on you. And it's not even about the money. It's about you losing your grit, your personality, your survival instincts almost. Learn to cook, learn to do this, learn to make tables, learn to craft, learn to do stuff. And it's perfectly cool if you learn, like, sell these things and buy stuff from others. Yeah, this exchange of goods is really good, but don't be helpless. Don't just look for conveniences. Learn to say, okay, look, I'm gonna allow myself this much comfort for the week. Let's say I'm gonna stick with Uber Eats and Netflix. But if I want to add something else, I'm gonna have to give something up. Start with some sort of sacrifices so that you don't have to just be this glutton. And then people are like, "Oh, wow, my bills are eating me up. This fucking capitalism is a fucking racket. Capitalism." You have bills because you sign up for products. It's not just capitalism that's bad. It's predatory capitalism because they know you're gonna go for it. A wolf goes to a place where it will find the deer, the sheep, the doe, whatever. And after they find them once, twice, they know where to go. They can repeat over and over again, profit. You're basically going to the place where these fucking sharks are hunting, man. So don't start or end or pass your days with your mind cluttered with thoughts of what are you gonna have for Uber Eats? What are you gonna have for? What are you gonna watch on Netflix today? What's gonna be? What movie are you gonna go to on a weekend? And what be? Oh yeah, how could I forget? What craft beer is gonna be on tap today or this Saturday? Ah man, just take some of that time, meditate, procreate, illuminate. I'm fading out here, people. Anyway, I didn't mean to drag this on. I know I kind of didn't really end it. It's a bit of a sloppy way to go. Um, but if you don't take responsibility for what you have, you are running on borrowed time. And whatever comforts you're enjoying now will stab you in the back. And it's not a good state of mind to be. When you look back and you're like, fuck, I think I could have handled this a little bit better. Trust me, a better choice is usually the tough choice. It's not the first thing you ask. It takes a little more than just thinking, do I want this? Yes, no. It's more about like, I don't really want to do this, but that's what I need to do. Change your habits. Change your habits and you'll see different outcomes. It's a guarantee.